Once the silicone was degassed, I emptied the container of the silicone into the base of the machine. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts and hope you're doing okay. Recently, Istoyo reached out to me and asked me if I'd like to try out their new bubble removing machine. It's new to the market. It's available worldwide, I believe. It's quite a reasonable price. And I said yes, because as a YouTuber, it's my job really to show you what's out there. Now, obviously, I have to make something. And I plan on making something that is really going to be useful for me. So hopefully I'll make some items with my bubble removing machine. I'll give you honest opinions, just my opinions, that's all. And yeah, let's see what it's like. So this is the Istoyo bubble removing machine. They do have a larger one also. This is their smaller version. It has a 6-minute and a 10-minute timer. It has 95 kPa pressure. And I do have a 15% discount code, which is worldwide. It was on the screen. It'll also be in the description box below, together with an affiliate link. I always think that Istoyo products are really well packaged. They take care in what they make, and I really appreciate that. Not only do you get an English plug in this kit, which is great if you're living in the UK, I would imagine that you get a different type of plug depending on what country you're in. You get a really nice little leaflet book which gives you step-by-step instructions. You get some mixing cups, and it is really high quality. I am a fan of Istoyo. Now, Istoyo sent me this machine to try it out and to give them feedback. They didn't ask for a video, but I've decided to make the video myself. So this isn't a sponsored video, it is an honest review, because I do think that as consumers we need to know what these products are like. I have already sent some feedback to Istoyo, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail later on. It took me a little while to figure out what 360 and what 600 seconds were. 360 is 6 minutes and 600 is 10 minutes. So one push on the button is 360, 2 pushes is 600, and third push will turn the machine off. And then to release the pressure, you press the release button. To start with, I was making some silicone at the time, so I thought I'll just put that silicone in the machine and give it a quick first try. And you can see the silicone dancing around in this time-lapse phone footage. But the small amount of silicone that I did have in here completely degassed in under 6 minutes. It takes roughly 3.5 minutes to degas silicone. The one thing I did notice about this was when it degasses, it bleeps. Bleeps every second for 30 seconds. And it is quite loud. But you can walk away and know it's doing what it says it's going to. So I really need to see what this machine does with resin. My first impression was it worked really fast, although it is quite noisy and vibrates. But we'll get into that more deeply during the video. This is a mould I bought from Temu. Now it's made of that really flexible silicone that, in my opinion, is really annoying. It's the sort of silicone that sucks the life out of other silicone, so I've put it on a tile so it doesn't ruin my silicone mat. But I like the design of the mould, so I'm going to use it. I'm using Istoyo resin for this. Again, I do have a discount code for Istoyo, which is in the description box below, together with an affiliate link. And I'm going to use some dichroic film. Now this is the Let's Resin heat gun. It is extremely hot. Quite a high heat gun, But when you're using diacrylic film, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect for this. I would suggest putting gloves on though, because this heat gun blows extremely hot and can burn very easily. I'm just using this diacrylic film. I have no rhyme or reason. I have lots of bits and pieces that are offcuts, and I'm just putting them down and getting them to melt together to get a different effect. Diacrylic film is so much fun to play with, and you really don't need to be an expert to get a really cool colour. Just put random pieces down together, heat them up with a heat gun, and in this case, a hot heat gun really does do it quickly. They will stick together, they will form all sorts of different colours, and when I'm happy with the size of the piece, then I cut it to shape. Basically holding it over the area where I want to cut it, getting a rough guide of the size before trimming around the outside so I can actually fit it into the mould itself. And that's all there is to it. Diacrylic film is so much fun, and as I said, I do sell that on toonpish.com if you can't get a hold of it where you are. And don't throw away all your offcuts, because they can be used in so many different ways, in smaller pieces or again stuck together with a heat gun. So I'm making up some resin. Now I decided in my wisdom only to make a small amount of resin. This resin mould doesn't hold that much resin anyway. So I'm using a small plastic cup and measuring out a small amount of the Istoyo resin. It's a 1-to-1 resin, it's easy to measure, and I'm going to use the Istoyo mixer. Now this small plastic cup only just fit the paddle. Really, a bigger cup would have been better. I wanted to use the mixer, and to get it above the paddle, which is best for when you're using a mixer, this small cup was the size that I needed. So because of that, it would have gone round and round and round if I hadn't held on to the cup, but it still mixed lovely. And don't forget to scrape the sides of the mixing cup even if you're using a mixer. Now it's time to put it into the bubble removing machine. The lid fits on really simply. Now this is a small cup of resin, but you can see there's lots of room in this machine. I'm going to degas it for 10 minutes. I've given you this time lapse so that you can see the vibration. It's jiggling the cup quite a lot inside this container, which isn't a problem. It was degassing the resin quite nicely, but the vibration was quite intense. Once it had finished its 10-minute cycle, I then pressed the release. The bleeping when releasing was in my opinion, far too loud. Now I have spoken to Istoyo about this, and they are going to try and either reduce the noise or put a mute button in. And moving forward, when manufacturers improve their models, it shows they're listening. But it did do exactly what it was meant to do and degassed this resin beautifully. I did squirt the top of the resin with some isopropyl alcohol, which I do with other machines as well, but I really don't think it needed it. There was no bubbles in there. You could see how crystal clear that resin was. So with this make then, I'm just pouring in clear resin, making sure I get rid of any bubbles that are stuck in the corners, because even though the resin is bubble free, the resin mould is dry and can hold on to little bubbles. So it's still best to get rid of those with a silicone tool. I'm just about to push the diacrylic film in, and I've remembered when I used a silicone inlay before, squirting it with isopropyl alcohol before putting it into the resin actually decreases any trapped air underneath your silicone inlay or your diacrylic film, and this did work beautifully as well. I made sure I pushed it down into that mould so that the diacrylic film had completely submerged in the resin, and I filled the mould up with more clear resin. It's a simple make, diacrylic film, clear resin, and hopefully it'll give me a beautiful finish. I squirt it with isopropyl alcohol and then I leave it to cure. So while the resin was curing, I thought I would make a little modification to help with the vibration of the machine. So I've made some silicone and I've added some really gorgeous orange colour to the silicone, which is kind of Istoyo's colour, almost the same as the rubber base that's on the bottom of the pot. The rubber base does stop the pot from moving anywhere, mind you. I actually put this on for 10 minutes, but I only left the silicone in there for about 3 minutes. And you can see again in this time lapse, the little plastic cup is dancing around in the machine. But it did degas very quickly. And again, when the pressure is released, the bleeping is really quite loud. Once the silicone was degassed, I emptied the container of the silicone into the base of the machine. Now, I did make far too much silicone. You don't need that much. If you're going to do this yourself, you only need a small amount. Now, I let it cure overnight, and the following day I could see that I had a really nice silicone mat in the bottom of my bubble removing machine. Because this container is plastic, the silicone won't stick to it, so I could take out the mat if I needed to. But I have a perfectly shaped silicone mat for the bottom of the base. And if you're worried that you can't get the silicone back in, again, use some isopropyl alcohol and it slips into place really nicely. And now I can use it and hopefully that will stop the vibration. Now, I have talked to Istoyo about my opinions on this machine and they have taken notice and they are going to include a silicone mat in the future. Now you can see here that I'm trying different sizes of cups to fit in this machine, and there is quite a lot of space in there. As I've already said, this is their small version of the bubble removing machine. They do have quite a large one, but this still takes a good capacity of resin cups, and the price does reflect the size. If you're on a budget, this is definitely something to consider. The largest cup didn't fit. That's a whopping 850ml cup. So you would need to divide anything that size into 2 smaller cups to be able to fit it into this bubble removing machine. Going back to my pillow, and I absolutely love this mould. It's a matte mould. It gives me a matte finish, and because of that, that dichroic film is just magical. I got this mould from Temu, and I did go back to Temu to buy another one because I loved it so much. I couldn't find the original one, but they have now a better version that is shiny. I say better because it's a different quality of silicone, and I've purchased that too and will be making that again because these little tiny cushion type mould pieces are beautiful. They could hold so many different things. Now, because I loved this mould so much, I'm going to slightly modify the mould as well. I can't sit and just do one thing. I have to move forward, and to move forward to this, I've made a tiny silicone inlay in the shape of a dome, in the right size to fit in the centre of this mould. Now, if you want me to show you how to make the dome, I can do that in another video, but I haven't included it in this video because it's already going to be far too long. I'm using some Pritt stick to stick the tiny shiny dome in the centre of this mould. It's a little silicone inlay, but using a Pritt stick glue is the best way I've found to keep it in the right place and not let any resin go underneath it. I'm mixing up some more resin, and this time I'm mixing up more. So I've got a bigger cup. I'm using the Istoyo mixer, and you can see it doesn't go round if the cup is the right size. Again, I scrape the sides to get rid of all the unmixed resin, which you do with any mixer. And I've now placed the resin in the bubble removing machine that has the silicone mat. and you can see it's not vibrating, it's not jiggling all over the place, and I do love watching these time lapses. They're just so much fun to watch. It does remind me of fizzy lemonade, to be honest with you. And we end up with perfectly clear resin. Again, I squirt the top with isopropyl alcohol, although you really don't need to because there are no bubbles. So with this make, I'm going to use these glass marbles. Again, I got these from Temu. I know a lot of people don't like shopping at Temu, but I do. Their stuff is affordable, it arrives quickly, and the quality is usually very good. These little glass marbles I figured would make an amazing inclusion into a clear resin piece. They are different shades, they are dusky looking, they're not completely shiny, which again I think would make a great inclusion. Because of the colours, they're only on one side, they're going to look different. Now I have checked on Amazon here to see if you can get these sort of glass marbles in this country on Amazon, and I couldn't find any. There are, however, plenty of ordinary glass marbles, glass beads and glass chips that would work out money saving on the resin front. You could even use stones or pebbles in resin to reduce the amount of resin you need and to save yourself money. Now I had a couple of little marbles that were too proud of the mould, so I took those out and I pushed the others around so that they are completely embedded in the resin. But I'm not done there. I'm going to add some sparkle, and this is Wendy glitter from Resin Supplies Den. Yvonne at Resin Supplies Den put this glitter together and named it Wendy after me, believe it or not. And I was so taken by that. It's so sweet. Thank you so much, Yvonne. Resin Supplies Den is a little Facebook group here in the UK. They do have quite a lot of international members as well. They are so helpful, they are so sweet, and if you need anything to do with resin, there's usually somebody there that sells it. So go check out Resin Supplies Den, the helpful, very sweet Facebook group, and I will put their link in the description box below. Now I'm just spattering this glitter through the piece. A lot of glitter sinks, and I'm well aware that this glitter will sink. Resin isn't that warm, and I don't mind it sinking between the glass marbles. In fact, I'm kind of planning it that way, even though Yvonne does have a lot of glitters that don't sink, by the way. I'm filling the back up with resin, clear resin, and I'm going to let that cure for about 4 hours. So about 4 hours later, I get out some flakes. Now these are Emma's flakes sold on Toonpish.com. I'm her authorised distributor, and they are gorgeous flakes. I'm using them because I love them. You don't have to use these. You can use whatever colour you want. You could just use standard mica on the back. I'm using the flakes because I want the flake effect. And as the resin is still sticky, the flakes have stuck to the back really nicely. And they're embedded. They're not going anywhere. The following day I can demould, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this piece comes out. When I demolded, I completely forgot that I'd put the little silicone piece on the inside. I'd completely forgot about that. I suddenly realised, why is that misty in the middle? Oh yes, my little inlay. How daft am I? Slept and then I can't remember. The little inlay comes out nicely, and now I have the centre of the piece that is shiny and inverted. Now I can put a sphere on it or a rounded egg and it won't run away. This glass dragon piece was sent to me by a really nice lady for my birthday, and I really love it. I thought it would go absolutely beautiful on a resin multicoloured cushion, and once I gave it a polish, it looks stunning. I love this pillow mould. I went on and I made some more. I made the blue one, just by coating the mould with blue mica, and the red and white was made from an eco pour, so that's ceramic, so that I can actually put a candle on it. This mould is designed to hold a tea light. I wouldn't suggest anything other than a little electric one for resin, however. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video and I hope that you've got something out of it. Come back to see me next week because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Happy crafting and bye for now.